Welcome, both of you. So today we're going to try and get into the minds of the directors here on stage with me to understand the thought processes, pressures and challenges that they face in their daily job when directing football. I'm here with Sarah Cheadle, Sky Sports Senior Football Director, and Serge Bellens, Telenet Play Sports Head of Directors and Senior Match Director for DPG Media. So let's start with a nice easy one. What is your directing mantra? Sarah, go on.
So for me, I'm afraid it's a little bit of a cliche, but it's true. It is to give our viewers at home the best seat in the house. Mm-hmm. So that is including the best, making sure we cover the editorial stories on the pitch and off the pitch. And importantly, when we're off the pitch, not to be away from live play too much, so you don't get people screaming at their tellies like my dad, "Where's the ball?" So.
Feedback from Dad, good.
I second that one, the one about my dad, same thing. Respect the ball in play, main thing. Camera one is a fantastic tool, so I like to stay on that one. I don't cut away from that camera unless it adds to the coverage. Mm-hmm. That's two main points already, I think, and try to be consistent throughout the game and throughout the season, I hope.
Make it repeatable. Yeah. And then for both of you, again, what is considered success as a director? I guess for you, it's your dad going, nice one.
Yeah. Success, so I would say clean show. Mm. A little bit like I just said, so making sure you've come away from a game and you feel like you've covered editorially the stories. So you've sort of cleared up any controversies that might have happened. And I think for me as well, what I consider, getting all the best angles out of replays and things like that. But for me, just proud moments when you sort of can look back and then, like I was lucky enough to be in Qatar to do the World Cup, to do the infamous Japan game, did the ball cross the line. Mm-hmm. And at the time, it exploded afterwards. It was huge, the coverage. And I sort of came away thinking, I must have done a decent job because everyone understood the story and what had happened. So that was just sort of personal pride for me, making sure, I felt that had been successful.
Capturing the story within the big story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for you, Serge?
Yeah, storytelling is key, also in my view. Answering all the questions, I think, like Sarah just said. Questions a viewer has immediately or a commentator might have, although we can't accommodate the commentator all the time because we're working for an international audience. Mm-hmm. Getting the replays in at the right moment, which seems obvious, but it's key. Certainly in this ecosystem we're in right now, when the players are getting quicker. Yeah. A goalkeeper kicks out a ball much quicker than 5 years ago. It can go either way at any moment. So we need to take care of that we get the timing right.
Yes.
Yeah. And if those things are happening at the same time, I consider it a success. Yeah.
Fab. And then going a bit more technical, how much planning goes into the game for you guys? So, is there a lot of it, or, do you have a pre-developed plan on what you're going to do per game? Or are you kind of working on more of we've got a pre-plan idea of what shots to use in what sequence for a penalty or for a corner, for instance?
So we'd start each game with a camera plan. And, for example, Premier League, there's very set positions. So we would always have the traditional cameras, like your camera one, your main close-up camera, camera two, your pitch level ones, your 18 yards, as we call them, 16 metres. But then after that, it's kind of really up to you where you put it. And so that's when each camera plan becomes bespoke to each game. Mm. So, for example, if, like Manchester City, we know the away fans are in the far right corner. So I would always look to put a camera there, hoping that on especially the big games, your Arsenals, your Liverpools, that if they score, they're going to run to that side. Uh-huh. Whereas at like Newcastle, for example, the fans are in the gods high up, so you're less worried about that because they're not necessarily going to run there because they can't see them. Or if we think about Liverpool, so if a Liverpool player scores in front of the Kop, Mo Salah just stands there and just takes it all in front of the cop. So you want to put your cameras in front of the cop, knowing that you get used to and understand the players the more you do where they run to, for example.
Yeah.
So it starts there, and then you might think about manager cameras. So your more personality managers we have in the Premier League, like your Klopps, your Artetas, your Peps. You'd definitely be, especially Klopp at the moment, because anything Klopp does with the news of him leaving Liverpool, we always potentially look to put a manager camera in. Yeah, and then after that, like I say, it's bespoke, so it's definitely no cut and paste.
Yeah.
So that starts with a camera plan, and then after that, it's basically homework. So we're lucky enough at Sky, we have a fantastic stats team at Sky who deliver us a stat pack for every game we do. So that's got everything you could possibly want to know about every player, every situation, graphics. And then for me personally, I go and I study social media. I try and find out, look at past games, study social media, see what's in the news, just so I've got a sort of heads up of what something might happen in a game. So, for example, if a player's wife's going to have a baby, the celebration might be the baby shot. Or if a player's come back from injury, he might run over to the bench to sort of celebrate with the physios that got him back up to speed.
Yes, yeah.
We had an example, it wasn't my game, Merseyside Derby years ago, when in one of the press conferences, David Moyes had complained about Luis Suarez and his diving. So when Suarez scores, he runs over to the Everton bench and does this very dramatic dive in front. It was brilliant. I think the only time I didn't heed my own advice was this season when Miguel Almiron scored for Newcastle. And he ran over and he did this sort of car celebration, which was brilliant. I was like, oh my God, that's great. VT, let's have that super slow. Goes out, great sequence. And it's only when a Newcastle cameraman keyed through and he just said, oh, actually, Almiron's just been banned for driving for 6 months.
Oops.
Yeah, I was like, well, maybe not the wisest choice, but yeah.
So you're trying to preempt things that
Exactly.
may happen in the match,
Yeah.
things you should capture. Yeah.
Yes.
And how about for you, Serge?
Same thing. I hate to repeat her, but I guess we do the same thing. We do a lot of home. I prepare a lot of home, reading everything I can about the match I'm going to do the day after or the day in the morning. Preparation is already done, of course, camera plans or EVS crews. But then at the match itself, which is different, I think, with Sarah and me, in Premier League, they work remotely. I should have ruined.
Yeah, majority, yeah.
Yeah, I could have said it already. It's not a surprise anymore. So they work remotely. We still need to, want to drive to the venue and do the match from there in the OB truck. So I get the opportunity to talk to my crew, to my camera guys, EVS operators, commentators. And then we have a little chat around outside the OB truck or in the stands. And I try to point out the key pointers for the game, but also a bit of backstory, which I read then before, about players, about managers, about relationships, about a new baby, maybe. Same thing, that we can anticipate that if it happens. It's always in the back of the head because sometimes the game doesn't need to have those stories told.
Yeah.
So I try to do that, and I think in international games, of course, we have the opportunity to have a good crew who know my directing style, who can adapt, who don't need to adapt to me every single day. They know what I want, so it's easier for me to work. So it's like just shot calling, almost, if they work pretty close to me on every game.
Sure.
So that's a luxury to have.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And, of course, you can plan till the cows come home, but sometimes things don't go as you wanted them to. So, Sarah, you're going to now take us through a couple of clips that show us just that. So let's start with a bit of dugout drama. So first of all, do you want to introduce the clip?
Yeah, so just a little bit of context here before we roll it. Ideally, it was Chelsea Spurs London derby. It'd been a quite spicy game. So as a good director, so it's 2-2 last bit. Harry Kane had popped up, and when he played, Harry Kane popped up and scored an equaliser. So as a good director I am, I had set up the shots. So my first was to go to a handshake shot of the managers, and then I'd set up the other close-ups of all the other players to go to. But alas, cut the handshake shot, bang, Thomas Tuchel, Antonio Conte have a little scuffle, don't let go of each other. And ultimately, on what you think is going to be quite a standard, that shot, the story changes in front of your eyes, and suddenly it's all about this moment.
And so, how many cameras have you got on this, and what are you thinking as you?
So I had the steady cam to get the handshake, and then, like I say, most of the other cameras are getting the players.
Yeah.
But you know, so for a split second, I'm worried about the welfare of the steady cam because he's right in amongst it.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. You feel like you're actually in there fighting with them. So why on earth would you cut off it?
Yeah.
And I did speak to the cameraman afterwards, don't worry, and he was loving it as much as I was. So, but yeah, I think it just goes to show, like, as directors, we're taught be one step, 2 steps, even to shots ahead, but you need to react to what's happening. And very easily, you could have just cut off that, and because you're on to the next step too quickly. But then when it suddenly kicks and you're not expecting it, yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, great TV, brilliant TV. Cool. And then now we've got another clip, a power play between Chelsea's manager and a very expensive goalkeeper.
Yeah, so Chelsea again.
Yeah. So introduce this one.
So this is the Carabao Cup final 2019 again. If you see the clock, it looks like it's going to go to penalties. We're in extra time. So Kepa, the Chelsea goalkeeper, has gone down, injured, got a bit of cramp. I'm thinking ahead, thinking, oh, she's going to go to penalties, just thinking in my mind what we're going to do, etc., even though we set it all up. There we go. So set up the shots for the substitution, etc. And then, as you can see, Kepa ain't budging. He's decided he's not coming off. They're about to bring Willy Caballero on, who is more of a, you'd say, penalty specialist.
Right, which would have made sense.
Yeah, against his old club as well. But Kepa doesn't want to come off. And obviously, Sarri, I mean, I've never seen anything like this. I don't even think like it since. You just think, is this going to be a normal sub? Suddenly, again, the story is changing in front of your eyes. You've got a huge story here. I think the thing with this is what you just want to. We talk about storytelling like we have all day. It's an incredible story. You don't want to overcut it. You just want to stick, the manager and the goalkeeper, and it's all in there. Look, you've got a little bit of Willy Caballero, but Sarri doesn't know what to do with himself.
No,
it's amazing, really. Yes, and it's simple, but it's Zola's getting involved as well. They all are.
Yeah.
Referee comes over because it's like, what's going on?
It's brilliant, isn't it? It's absolutely fantastic.
It's basic sort of sequence, really, but it just shows you don't. Again, how the story can change unexpectedly, and suddenly now the story becomes the goalkeeper situation, and obviously Chelsea went on to lose this final. Kepa was in goal for the penalties. I don't think he saved any. It wasn't his fault. They were all good penalties, but it just shows you, it's brilliant.
Oh, the shirt's being ripped off. Oh dear.
Because at one stage here, we think he's actually walking out of Chelsea because he's like, where's he going? And it's like, he's gripping. And then he has a change of heart. He doesn't know what to do with himself, really. I don't blame him because he thinks the keeper's coming off. He's the manager. He's making that decision, but no.
No, we're back. That's so good, so good. So, I mean, when you're in that kind of situation, in the heat of a completely out of the blue moment, how strong does the relationship between the director and your camera operators need to be so you can, capture these unexpected things and know you kind of know what's going to go on next? Yeah,
listen, I mean, I have to say, the camera operators and EVS operators, I'm very lucky. I know I'm biased, but I work with the best in the world. They are incredible. It's all about them. I just help bring it together, really. They are fantastic. I mean, each camera has a discipline, and they know the disciplines, but at the same time, they're so editorially strong. They know the stories, and they will go for that. So, I mean, I was just thinking earlier of one example when we were out in Bucharest, actually, during the Euros, me and Serge were there together. We had this, I did the game France-Switzerland, famous, went to penalty shootout. And the cameraman had spotted this Switzerland fan in the crowd. And he started off, he got his hat on, his shirt on, glasses on, you know, quite tame, getting excited. And as the game wore on, because Switzerland came back to equalise, and then they ended up knocking France out. Sorry, I'm chuckling because it's brilliant. So we got this shot, and then he went back to the same fan at the end of the penalty shootout, and this fan has ripped his shirt off. His glasses are all school whiff. He's like roaring. He's covered in sweat and beer, and he's got his shirt around his head. I can't take any real credit for that. I cut it up, but it's that cameraman's instinct to find those shots and know how that is going to develop. So absolute 100% kudos to them.
Yes, yeah.
Respect the crew, respect the camera guys, EVS guys, and also the rule of play.
Yeah. I mean, out of interest, how much do you brief your camera crew? Does it depend on how familiar you are with them to start with, or?
For sure, yes. But as said, I'm lucky to have a small crew which continuously works with me, I guess, because we don't have a lot of big games.
Sure.
So it's a smaller team, we can work together. So a briefing is almost not done, to be honest, because they know it by heart from previous games, of course.
Yeah.
Unless you tell them to do certain things, it's a certain moment in the match that you know beforehand. The only thing I think of we can brief is set pieces, you know, for, corners, free kicks, and of course penalty shootouts, which we can pre-arrange which side it is and who's going to take what at what moment during the penalty shootout. So you can have those good reaction shots of the things you want to see as a viewer at home instead of camera one.
Yeah.
In that case, only camera one is not a good thing. Because the tension is too high. You want to see the emotion of players and managers and fans and the players who missed and the players' reaction to the miss. So there you need to brief in detail, I think. Yeah.
And then, Sarah, you know, you're mostly on Premier League, which is very well resourced for everything. So with football in particular, is it true to say less is more, particularly, you know, when choosing the shots, particularly because you've got such a huge array of shots available to you as director? Or do you, you know, like to pick and choose or pack it out? What's your favourite?
I think it honestly depends on the game, and the game dictates that. So I did the Carabao Cup final on Sunday. Thanks, Nick Moody, for the shout-out early, by the way. And that was Van Dijk scoring last minute in extra time in front of the Liverpool fans. So that goal goes in. I've got a steady cam right in Van Dijk's face. I can't. It's amazing. I know there's loads of other scenes, but I can only cut one shot live, and I have to stay with it. I can't cut away from it because it's so good. And I know actually, like anything, the best angles are their impact of that goal. So Klopp's best reaction is when they score, for example. The fans, it's just before they score.
The tension.
Yeah, my mentor Tony Mills is here today, best director, and he always taught me never cut to another shot unless it's better than the one you're on. So yes, on Sunday I couldn't, and then was hoping to sort of get all the replays out. Unfortunately, because of the time of the goal, it was so late that we didn't get as many out as we would have liked to. But then they're all there for everyone to see. So.
Cool.
Yeah, I also think the cutting is very important, like Sarah just explained. Me personally, I don't like overcutting.
Right, yeah.
Fussy, artistically overcutting. It's not my thing. And I articulate that often to my crew, I think. But ultimately, it's up to me. I need to do the cuts or I don't do the cuts. So. Yes. I always try to exactly do the cut which is necessary, I think, in the gameplay, or a cut which adds to the previous one, and not the other way around, or not because I see on my monitor wall 3 beautiful shots and I need to put them all 3 in, like in a row of 6 seconds, like camera 1, 10, and 11 in 5 seconds. No. it needs to be crucial. It needs to be adding value
Yes.
for the viewer at home, and not for my own cutting ambition. You know, that's not the idea of the game.
So you can let each piece breathe.
Yeah, and certainly shots of managers. I like to stay on long, like you just did with with the Carabao. It helps to tell the story, because you got commentators all over the world seeing that shot, and they can add value to that shot when something is happening in the shot, and you don't need to cut away from it when you feel something might happen between a substitution or an assistant, or he's talking to a player on the pitch. Then I try to look for the player on the pitch and cut between those two. Not during the play, of course, but when the play is not happening.
I mean, we have 44 cameras at the World Cup,
Yeah.
which was amazing, and everything was covered. But obviously, you're never going to cut 44 cameras live.
Yes,
at the,
yeah.
at the same time.
Hidden a sweet shot.
Yeah, but fantastic. And like I say, everything was there and above. It was brilliant. But yeah.
Yeah, I think on the Euro we had 38.
Yeah,
What was it?
28, yeah.
And we only used only 10, 12 live, maybe. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
You don't need
Yeah,
more.
you don't need to, exactly. Yeah.
All the rest is replays or for extra added value when the ball is not in play. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
But you don't need all those 38 cameras at the same time, because that's a
Yes.
mistake I think a lot of people who don't know TV or football production make, is they think you need to look at all those cameras at the same time. But that's of course not the case.
Sure. And now, staying with you, Serge, we're now going to play another clip in which it seems everything happens in just 4 minutes. So,
Okay. Maybe some context. That's
Sure.
the Champions League game, Antwerp against Barcelona. Last game in the group stage, and Antwerp hasn't won any game up to then. And then this happens.
okay, please run the...
Run VT.
Wrong VT.
4 minuten erbij. 4
So talk us through it.
Richie de Laat just made a foul, which is a proud Antwerp player, resulting into a free kick of Barcelona.
4 minuten kunnen lang zijn.
So here I let the cameraman do his thing, you know, it's a lucky shot, but we got it in.
Gundogan, gekopt en binnen.
And then
Binnengekopt.
the equalizer for
En het is
Barcelona,
Mark Hugh, de jonge Mark Hugh.
which of course is for the Belgian fan and Antwerp fan
En Antwerp die
slight problem.
historische zege.
Here I try to, I already asked the replay guys, okay, get the replays ready for
Het is nog maar zijn
to
tweede
show the
goal.
goal,
Het is een derde match
and then
voor
show
Barcelona.
some disappointment and
En het is geen offside,
happiness
want daar komt hij.
Yes.
Nee,
of
het is gewoon fantastisch binnengekopt.
other players. But we saw on the CIS screen in the OB truck that there was a possible offside. So I needed to restrain myself. So I'm still running some replays here, but I was seeing that already on the screen. So I couldn't get the replays in I wanted. I got Richie in, which is good, the player who caused the foul.
Sure.
And now we're waiting on the goal
Yeah.
check.
I mean, how do you feel time? I mean, this is a short VAR clip, but
It's a bit annoying, but it's useful also. We need to wait now for the decision, because I can't really cut away to a replay or cut away to some
Zo dicht erbij.
long shots. So we got the signaling referee in. It's a
Maar
goal.
dat eerste punt,
So, but immediately after that,
daar zijn ze ook dichtbij.
the ball is already in play. So he needed to stay on camera 1, my favorite camera.
Dan nog iets uit de
And
vliegveld. Zoals hier. George
and then the youngest player in the squad, I thought, was George Ilenikia. He scores the winning goal like 2 minutes after the Barcelona goal.
Yeah.
And here I try to get the emotion across, of course, of the Antwerp team winning, because there's only 2 minutes or 1 minute to go. And the commentators went a bit nuts. So I could stay here longer on the player, but of course we need to get quickly the replays in, because otherwise we couldn't show anything anymore, because the game would be ended. The replays, and of course it's no offside.
Weg met die VAR.
En nog goed afgewerkt
Weg
ook
met de
hoor.
vlag.
Yeah. Here maybe a slight criticism on my side, maybe a bit too many replays. It's already a second one. The order could be reversed maybe. this one first and then the second one. And here we got the emotion.
Yeah.
So we got cameras also sticking with the players,
De Overmars.
trying to show their emotion after a goal or a near goal.
Een van de mooiste dingen die ik al mogen zien.
And then again, the same
Sad.
loneliness in the Barca fan and the angry Xavi. And then the same player, Richie, gets substituted at the end of the game. So he gets an applause, even he caused a foul at the beginning of this sequence.
Yes.
So it happens in 3.5 minutes, a lot, where you need to adapt a lot of times during the time we have in the truck.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I mean, you're on the truck, you're remote, you're Premier League, 1 million cameras. Slightly different situation for you, Serge.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're particularly affected by tighter budgets, Serge, versus Sarah's experience on Premier League. So, what do you have to do on match days that perhaps in another league or competition might be covered by a separate human being?
Separate human being. Well, we have a smaller league. Domestic league is smaller. The match coverage resources are usually smaller in our competitions, Champions League, Conference League, Europa League, than they are in UK. So that means more roles need to be put into one person, one camera guy, one EVS guy, one director. We think we might need to do more during a game than when you got the luxury of more resources. For instance, a reverse camera. In our case, he does like manager cam, he does fan shots, he does VIP shots in the stands, and he does the match. So he needs to cover all those bases practically at the same time. And otherwise, during the Euro, for instance, we had like 2 cameras there and a corner reverse cameras. You can divide up the roles. But in our competition, that's not the case. And one major difference also is in our country, that is Belgium, we don't use a VT coordinator, which is impressively useful in other countries, but we do it all ourselves.
Right.
So this game, for instance, the Champions League game, of course, we do the mixing ourselves. I do the shot calling, but I also do the VT coordination. So we got 7 EVS guys behind me in my back shouting, and I need to coordinate them at any given moment to show certain things on air. So that's a big difference, I think, to not have that one in a separate VT room or EVS room.
Yeah, definitely. And how does that, I mean, it must affect your ability to direct in some ways because you're splitting your attention.
Yeah, it's an extra layer of stress, of things you need to think about during the game, because you're thinking not only about the camera cutting, but you're thinking already 2 steps forward. What am I going to show in EVS? What's the next EVS? What's the next one? And what's the camera behind that one? So, and in other cases, I think you only think about the cameras and the timing. Yeah? And now we do a bit more, but we've grown accustomed to it, I think.
Yes, yeah.
But we don't earn more.
Not double wages.
No.
And so on working with fewer resources, we're now going to take a look at a Conference League clip showing how you can work well with these restrictions. So, Serge, do you want to take us through this one?
This one is Ghent, so it's a Conference League game for Play Sports. We did, it's a minimum requirement game, so that means 9 cameras, only 9. Maybe this pitch deserves only 9 cameras. It's all again in the last few minutes of the game, and Orban assists Hong, and Hong just misses. So we got the close-up of Hong, the assist by Orban, which left the club already now. Then we get the replays, of course, 60-meter left. I'm just trying to show here with this clip that we can do what's required with only 9 cameras, and in a good way. This is the reverse angle. One misses, yeah, and then we get some emotion missing. Again, if we have time, so I waited for this one to show because maybe we didn't have time anymore. And then disappointment, goalkeeper, assist game. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's in short the story for 9 cameras, which is by UEFA standards the minimum requirement, which is fine. It's fine. It works perfectly. Maybe sometimes you don't need like 20.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, depending on the bigness of the game, of course.
Yeah. And then
You'd never turn them down, though, would you?
No, we won't settle with it, but we always want more. But it works fine also.
Yeah.
It's not a problem.
No.
Which you can make of it. Like as a director, you can. I want 15 cameras to do this and that. But no. If you get your crew together and work in a fine atmosphere.
Yeah.
And with 3 EVS guys, you can work magic, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
But I mean, while it is possible, obviously, to get that big game feel with 9 cameras, what can go wrong when you don't have enough resource?
I think I come back to the thing about the cameras doing lots of stuff at the same time. And the problem might be then that you start missing things. You start missing some things that are going on in the game, a foul, a reaction shot, and you might think, I could have done better if I had more cameras here. Of course, I could have done better, but you can do it with 9 also if you keep concentrated. But it can go wrong, and I think adding to that, I think the viewer has been customized, accustomed, being.
That's right, accustomed, yes.
Accustomed to seeing a lot of big games with a lot of resources.
Yeah.
With in-goal cams, with the mini jib in high speed, with like steady cams now on Premier League in high speed, with reverse cameras, with a drone shot, with a spider cam, and if they don't get it, they feel a bit disappointed because they don't see what they see on other games.
Yeah.
And I think production-wise, we need to try to step up and give the viewer what they expect.
I think with the less facilities as well, you can not be able to clear up certain incidents. So, for example, there's a handball in the area, isn't there?
Yeah.
You haven't got it, and it's right down the barrel of what if you had a camera in that reverse, you would have it. If you haven't got it, you find it frustrating that you come away, as we talked about at the start, not really able to clear up and tell the story as you might have wanted to.
Sure.
You can answer any question you want, and if you get more resources.
Yeah.
And now it's always a bit, sometimes in a grey area for commentators.
Yes, yeah. And then finally, last one for both of you. What things would you as directors love to have access to in an ideal world? I think we know some of yours already, Serge. And what would you get rid of? Sarah?
Oh gosh, get rid of. It's like the Oscars, isn't it, by the way, with the club? So we're actually quite lucky in the Premier League that we get to see, unlike Serge just showed there, and the UEFA events and the FIFA ones, that we get to see the VAR output of the referees. So we can go to the VAR output in the Premier League at any time we want, which is fantastic because it's that visibility. You can see what they're doing. You're not waiting just for a shot of the ref with his ear. So while we're looking at that, the next step would absolutely be hearing that VAR audio to the fans at home. So we get to hear when the VAR room talks to the referee on a push-to-talk button. The next step would to allow the fans to have that.
Yeah.
And I think like everyone in this room as well, cameras on players, cameras on referees, just the general sort of dressing room access.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone's on the same boat with that.
More access to the whispers.
Access is key, I think. Even from when they get from the bus, they walk into the dressing room like we did on the World Cup.
Yeah.
Get the camera inside the dressing room, like even for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. See them walking because you don't get that access normally. You see the big stars walking in. And also, I think it was mentioned today, the 5 minutes before and after a game, the concentration, the reactions after the game, to get really, really close to the players there. What we try to do now, for instance, on the Cup final last year and the Croquet Cup this year was get, like you do, I think, get cameras on the pitch until the last 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Get them around the players, try to catch some audio between players, portable or Steadicam, and that's brilliant. As long as you get off the pitch in time, of course. But, and I heard that UEFA is going to implement that too in next season to get cameras there on the pitch until the last seconds, which we like, I think. Things to get rid of. I would like to say social media, but that's not happening, I think. I get mad sometimes when I see something on social media which I didn't get in my coverage.
Oh, is that a personal pride thing?
Yeah, maybe it's not that we weren't there, but maybe they get more access to certain moments or certain places, and that's a bit strange in my eyes. You get something, you're the live HB, and you don't get access to what a social media team does have. I'm speaking against clubs maybe, but that's not really what we're all about.
Yes.
But on the flip side, I mean, we had, it's a great shot. So I set up on the Carabao Cup final. We didn't manage to get in the coverage, but it has gone viral where Darwin Núñez, one of the injured Liverpool players, so I'd asked the cameraman to sit on the injured players at the end when Liverpool are attacking. And Núñez, like I say, supposed to be injured, but runs down, bolts over 2 fences and jumps on the pitch to join in the celebrations. And that's gone viral, and that's even on his own sort of Twitter he's put that. So social media, yeah, we don't like it in many ways, but again, you feel this pride thing when you see that your shots that you've helped orchestrate are there everywhere and everyone's talking about it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Okay, we are well out of time. I'm going to get turfed off stage by myself in a minute. But yes, thank you so much. Give Sarah and Serge a massive round of applause. Thank you.